How you doing? This is the guy from Pittsburgh. I got people out there that say I'm lying, that the stuff I say doesn't happen to me. Well, I tell the truth. I have no reason to lie. I could be doing other things than sitting in front of this computer. I could be watching TV. I could be reading a book. I could be sleeping. I could be doing the rest of my living room. I've got half of it done, but I've had to put that off tonight because I got a whole bag of clean laundry to put away and a bunch of stuff to put away, and I got a vacuum. And then I got to tackle my kitchen and do all the dishes that are in the sink and on top of the stove because I've been too sick to do them. But there's no logical reason for me to lie. And then when I'm done with that, I do the hallway, and then I start tackling this room, which is going to be an undertaking. So I want to talk about another paranormal... Excuse me. Say that 3 times fast. Paranormal experience I had. This goes back to 1972. Little Chris has posted a picture of me from the WesterCon in Long Beach when I was 20 and happy. And my father was an alcoholic, and he was verbally abusive, physically abusive. I died at his hands, was pronounced dead due to a beating. It's a long story. I may have recounted it. And the last time I saw him, he became convinced that my mother was having affairs with other men, and he started to attack her. And when he was at that point in his life, he was 62, died just short of being 63. Let's see what, yeah. And he walked with a air machine with the tube up his nose and putting oxygen, had emphysema from smoking Luckies for years and Chesterfields. And he walked with 2 canes. So he went in our apartment living room and started to physically tried to attack my mother and kill her. So suddenly when he snapped, I was just turned 20, grabbed his canes, and all the rage of all those years of abuse and terror, running away from home for fear he would get his belt and threaten to beat me to death again. So I'd take off for weeks at a time, wander the streets of San Francisco. Almost lost my leg once. I got bit by I don't know what it was, some kind of spider, and my whole right leg swelled up like that. And when they found me, my mother got me the Presidio to the doctor because we could get medical care, being independent. Doctor said, wait another day, I would have lost the leg. So anyway, I beat the crap out of him. I was so enraged. You son of a bitch, leave my mother alone. You're not going to ever beat anybody again. I'm going to kill you. And he's yelling, ow, ow, don't hit me. And I'm getting more and more angry. Now you know how it feels. You know how it is to get beaten within an inch of your life. And to fear for your life, don't you son of a bitch. And I didn't normally use those kind of words, but I was furious. My mother pulled me off him. You're going to kill him. And I said, I don't care. This bastard deserves to die. So the next morning I moved out, gathered all my stuff in the shopping carts because I didn't know. I couldn't rent a truck. I didn't have a license. And hauled it all down to Los Angeles and moved to L.A. And 3 months later, my dad died, and I had a small breakdown because it was too much for me. I thought I had killed him, and came back home. And he died on Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement. So we had the funeral in Colma at Hills of Eternity Cemetery. And there were about 50 people there, friends of my mother, high-powered people she knew. The only people I remember that were at the funeral were the Cottrells. They owned a moving and storage company. And my mother was a nurse. She wasn't retired then, but she had nursed one of their relatives who'd had a heart attack. So they became friends, and they were Irish. And they lived in St. Francis Woods. I could even show you the house where they lived. And So they came after the ceremony. Everybody drove downtown, and there were about 30 of us in the living room of our apartment on Post Street. Now, we used to have a huge apartment upstairs on the 5th floor, and she moved into a smaller apartment when he died. And so we're all sitting in the living room. Now, I wasn't drinking, my mother wasn't drinking, and she'd been married to him for 26 years. And I forgot to bring that in, damn it. There's a newspaper from San Francisco, the Sunday magazine section. And hold on a minute. I'm going to walk in there and get it. I think I can find it. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that, but this was in the living room. And to show you how things have changed since November 12th, 1972, this is the San Francisco Chronicles. It's gotten a little beat up because it was in a box, and I really should make a copy of this. Here is an ad, the back of the magazine, for 8 cents off a parquet, and with Buddy Ebsen. And this thing is falling apart. And they have a ad here for Macy's for a bed. No, it's bedspreads for $16 to $30 for king. Anyway, here's the cover. My mother had this in a box for years. When I had to go through all the paperwork and the stuff because their bathtub broke, this got kind of beat up. But this says November 12th, 1972, California Living. And up here it says Walter Bloom on the Morgue. And you go in here, the ads are fascinating to me. And see if I can find this article. And it's an article they're doing on jobs. Here's 3 packs of Cert gum for 10 cents, Campbell recipes and recipe cards. And here's the article with Dr. Boyd Stevens, the coroner at the time. And here it is, Death in the City. And there's the article. And they happened to choose the week of my mother's death, of my father's death, I'm sorry. And I will just give you the quick thing here. 10:10 a.m., James Scanelli, assistant coroner, outgoing man in his early 40s, with a deep voice, rugged, pitted face, and thinning hair. On his desk lies a manila envelope with its contents dumped out. Change, checkbook, an Emporium credit card, 2 $1 bills, various slips of paper. The last effects of a man who recently died in the bathtub of a cheap downtown hotel. And later on, they mentioned my mother, and she's with somebody, and she started talking and crying about 26 years she was with them. So my father got mad and moved out of my mother's apartment, and they had told him that if he drank anymore, he would die and have a heart attack. He was taking a bath in a bathtub and had a heart attack and went under the water and drowned. So anyway, we're all sitting there in the living room, and my mother and I and all the people, about 30 of us, and our apartment, this end was the window, and there was a fire escape or a balcony, I can't remember. And the apartment building is Post and Leavenworth. We were on the 3rd floor facing the street. Then you walk down the hallway. And this way was the way to the front door. The bedroom was there, the fire escape back there, into the kitchen, a little kitchenette area and the kitchen, and then there was a door leading into the hallway. Well, I'm sitting there next to our color TV. It had doors. Everything was like furniture back then for televisions. It looked ornate. Had a record player, AM/FM radio. You could play 45s, 33s, and 78s on the built-in record player, and you had color TV. So I get up to go get some more coffee or something, and as I'm coming back in the doorway, I see this thing going through the glass window of the bedroom, and it solidified. And my father had a habit of wearing these incredibly ugly, garish clothes. He wore a green sweater. It was an off lime green sweater, a hideous yellow shirt, and brown pants for years, and the shirt was checkered. Well, his spirit walked through that window, down the hallway, through the bedroom door, down the hallway, stood in the doorway of the living room, looked at me, looked at my mother, looked at everybody in the room. People, there was booze there, and there was coffee and tea and punch and cookies and pastries and little sandwiches. Well, everybody took their glass, and they had been about to take drinks or drink coffee or eat, and they all stopped and went like, and my mother screamed and fainted. She doesn't remember it to this day. She was so freaked out by it, but the Cottrells knew, the other people knew, and his spirit stood there for about a good minute or two, walked through me, came over to me, walked through me, past my mother, looked down at her, she's on the floor, passed out cold, and then walks through the desk. She had this desk under the living room window, walks through the desk, through the closed windows of the living room windows, onto the balcony, and then his spirit disappeared. And that was September 14th, 1972. Or maybe a little after that. It was actually a couple of days. You had to be in the Jewish faith, even though he wasn't Jewish, he was Catholic. You have to bury the person, I think, within 24 hours or 72 hours. So we had the funeral Saturday morning, and then people showed up for the wake, or whatever you call it. And that was a talk of all my mother's friends for quite some time. They saw a ghost. And people had met my father. He'd been in the Cottrell's furniture store in the Mission District, or Valencia Street. I can't remember where it is. I don't think it's around anymore. They've retired. They've made their money. They were very well off. So that was what happened the day my father was buried. We saw his ghost. Another reason why I believe there's something beyond the grave. But in my case, I'll probably be doing these videos. I'll be dead and still doing videos. Anyway, I'm going to do... I got 3 more to do, and I will save the Art Bell one for later. So, hello, Bill Gabbers, little Chris, my buddy who just called me from the great state of Texas, and Area 51 drone, and I'll get a hold of Bateman when I get done with this and see if he wants me to be on the show as host tomorrow. And have a great evening, and... good Lord, it's midnight. What am I doing these things at midnight? And free Art Bell, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.